This is our review for our test coming up on ratios and equations. Now this is going to be Wednesday or Thursday. We're not sure yet. It will depend if we feel like we need another day to review. But it will be next week on either the 12th or the 13th. So I'm giving you a little bit of time so you can study this and review this so you can do as well as possible. Remember that if any of this is not making sense to you, please come see me before school or after school or during lunch. So I'm just going to jump right into number 1. Write the ratio of cars to trucks in 2 ways. So always check the order. You want to do it the same order the problem says it in. So cars is first. How many cars are there? There are 1. And then trucks, there are 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to be 1 to 4. Now remember, you can write a ratio like that with a colon, you can write it with words, or you could write it as a fraction, but make sure you have it in 2 ways, okay? Any of those 2 ways is great, okay? All right, number 2 says the ratio of students to teachers at a school is 19 to 1. How many students are there in each total number of people? In 440 people and in 760 people. So the ratio is 19 to 1, but the total number of outcomes, the 19 plus 1 is 20. So we are increasing from 20 to 440 people. How many times bigger are we getting? So we have 20 to 440. What do I need to times by to get there? And I'm going to times by 22. Because I know that 2 times 22 is going to give me 44. So if I'm increasing my number of people by 22 times, then I'm also going to need to increase my students and teachers by 22 times. So I'm going to have 22 teachers for sure, because I'm just increasing 22. But now my 19, I'm going to have to do a little bit of work there. So I'm going to do 19 times 22. I'm going to do that up here on the margin. Remember, I'm timesing by 22 because 20 increased to 440. That was 22 times. So 9 times 2 is 18. 2 plus 1 is 3. Hold my place. 9 times 2 is 18. And then 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3. Add those together, and I get 418. Now, when I add 418 and 22, I should get 440, and I do. Now, the question only asked for how many students are there in each number of people. So, in this first group of people, 418 of them are students. Okay? In the second group of people, we're increasing from 20 people to 760 people. Now, I'm not sure what 760 divided by 20 is, so I'm going to do that really quickly. 20 into 76 goes 3 times. That's 60. Subtract and I get 16. Bring down the 0. 20 will go into 168 times. Exactly. So this is increasing by 38 times. So we're going from 20 to 760. That's going to be multiplying by 38. You know, I'm going to use an X right here. Times 22. So my number of teachers, that's going to be 38. That's how much we times by. But my students, I'm going to need to do 19 times 38. So I'm going to do that out here. 9 times 8 is 72. 8 plus 7 is 15. Hold my place. And I've got 9 times 3, which is 27. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. And I get 2. 5 plus 7 is 12. 1 plus 5 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So I have 722 students to 38 teachers. So that is my my ratio right there, but it's just asking for how many students. So it's going to be 722. All right, next up, I believe this is the bonus question on the test because that's a little trickier because you have to get the total outcomes and then increase. So if you can get it, it will help your score. And if you want help, remember to come in. Okay, number 3 is a ratio table. When you purchase 40 songs, you get 24 for free. How many songs must you purchase in order to get 18 free song downloads? So it set this up for you in a ratio table. Let me zoom in a little bit. So for 40 songs, you get 24 for free. And it gave you a place to simplify that so then you could move to the 18. We want 18 free song downloads, so we need to know how many we need to buy to get them. So what is a common factor of 40 and 24 that I could divide both of those by? I could do 2. I could also do 4.
Isabel Lopez, could you please come to the front office, Isabel Lopez?
I'm going to go with 8 because it's the GCF. So 40 divided by 8 is going to give me 5. And then 24 divided by 8 gives me 3. So now I can use that ratio in the middle to increase to 18 because 3 times 6 gives me 18. So I'm going to times 5 by 6, which is going to give me 30, which means I need to buy 30 songs in order to get those 18 free. Okay. All right, number 4 is asking you to find the unit rate. Remember, the unit rate is how many per one, or per 1 unit, per second, per mile, just down to 1, as simple as you can get it. So on this one, luckily it gives it to me in this number line because it takes it down to 1 second. The only thing you need to remember on this one is that you've got to include the feet and the seconds and the word per. So it's going to be 5 feet per second. You need to remember both labels of the units as well as per in the middle, okay? So that's your unit rate, 5 feet per second. Okay, this one's also a unit rate. We have 12 haircuts in 4 hours. So I'm going to go ahead and write that as a ratio because it will remind me that I need to divide. I need to get this down for 1 hour. How many haircuts am I going to be able to do in just 1 hour? So if I divide by 4, 12 divided by 4, that will give me 3 haircuts per hour. And if it's helpful to you to see it in like a ratio table form, you know, in the first, say you have 12 haircuts in 4 hours, if you take away an hour, say you only are doing it for 3 hours, I should have made that ratio table much smaller, and 2 hours and then 1 hour, how many would you get done? And so we've got to take away 4 each hour. So in 3 hours, you would only get 8 done. In 2 hours, you would only get 4 done. Wait, I've got to take away 3 each hour. So this would be 9. This would be 6, my bad. And this would be 3. So on this side, we're decreasing by an hour, and every hour we're getting rid of 3 haircuts. So in 1 hour, you can do 3 haircuts. That ratio table you can't even see, sorry. Just remember to divide. Okay, moving on to number 6, determine which car gets the best gas mileage. Show your work for each unit rate. Now, we have done this a lot, and I can give you partial points if you show your work and if you're doing part of it right. If you just take a guess and guess A or B, then it's either wrong or right, and I can't give you points for showing your work. So please show your work on that question on your scratch paper, and I can give you partial points. Okay, so car A goes 400 miles on 12 gallons of gas, and car B goes 440 miles on 15 gallons of gas. We want to know which one's better. So we're going to divide to find the unit rate. How much per gallon? How many miles per gallon? So I'm going to do 440 divided by 12 on car A. Whoops, just 400. And then 440 divided by 15 for car B. Okay, so how many times will 12 go into 40? It will go in 3 times. 3 times 12 is 36. Subtract and I get 4, bring down the 0. How many times will 12 go into 40? That's 3 again. 3 times 12 is 36. Subtract and I get 4, bring down the 0. That's going to keep happening over and over and over again, that 40 minus 36. So it's going to be 33.3 repeating for car A. That's how many miles per gallon. Car B, how many times will 15 go into 44? It will go in twice. It's barely shy of 3 times. 44 minus 30 is 14. Bring down the 0. 140 divided by 15 is 9. 9 times 15 is 135. Subtract, bring down a 0. How many times will 50 go into 45? It will go into 53 times because 3 times 15 is 45. Subtract, and you're going to keep getting this 50. So this one's 29.3 repeating. Now, which one is better? 33 miles to the gallon or 29 miles to the gallon? And hopefully you're thinking to yourself that you would rather have a car that goes 33 miles to the gallon because it can give you more mileage with less money because you would have to use less gas. So that's the better gas mileage. Okay. Number 7, complete the ratio tables and graph the ordered pairs. What can you conclude? That's a typo. So, and this balloon in 3 seconds rises 9 meters, in 6 rises 18. So in 9, it's going to times by 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So 9 times 3 is 27. And then 3 times 4 is 12. So 9 times 4 is 36. Okay, on the blimp, every 2 seconds it rises 7 meters. So in 4 it goes 14. And in 6 it would go 21 because we're timesing by 3 there. And then 2 to 8 is 4 times. And so 7 times 4 is 28. So there's my ratio tables. And then on your scratch paper, you will graph those ordered pairs. I need to grab scratch paper real quick. Okay, so I'm going to make a simple coordinate plane right here. And then I actually only needed this positive axis right here, but that's okay. So I need to go over 12. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And on my upside, I'm going to need up to 36, it looks like. So I'm going to count by 3s. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 33, and 36. Those lines are much more spread out. But you get the point. And I think, well, you'll probably have to draw it yourself. You might have one on your scratch paper, but I'm not sure. Okay, so I'm counting by 3s at my x-axis. Nope, that's my y-axis. And then across my y-axis, I'm just going by 1s. Okay, so now for the balloon, I'm going to do it in pink. I go over 3 and up 9. Then over 6 and up 18. Over 9, up 27. Remember, those are ordered pairs. And the last one is over 12 and up 36, so that's in the corner. Now I connect that, make a line. My dots are not perfect, but we will make it work. Make the dots a little bigger so it all goes nicely. Okay, and then we've got the blimp. I'm going to do that in green. So the blimp is 2, 7. Remember, this column is x, this column is y. So I go over 2, and then I go up 7. That's about right there. Over 4 and up 14. Over 6 and up 21. And then over 8 and up 28. That's about right there. So, based on the graph, tell me which one rises faster, we know that the blimp does because this line is steeper. So you can conclude that the blimp rises, which is proper English, rises at a faster rate than the balloon. Okay, so that's how you would do that comparing with a graph. All right, number 8 is write the percent as a fraction. Remember, you're going to write it as a fraction out of 100, and then all you do is simplify. I know that both of these numbers can be divided by 5. So 65 divided by 5, that's 13. And 100 divided by 5 is 20. So my answer is 13/20. Just write it over 100, simplify. Okay? All right, the next one is write the fraction or mixed number as a percent. So on this one, you're going to try and make an equivalent fraction. So you're going to make this a fraction out of 100 because percents are out of 100. So what did you multiply 50 by to get to 100? You would times it by 2. So we're going to times 9 by 2 and we get 18. And remember that your numerator is always your percent. So 9/50, that's 18%. That's my answer right there. Okay. All right, number 10. Find the percent of the number. This is 30% of 70. Now, there are a couple of different ways I taught you could do percent problems. Remember, there's the double number line. You could use a ratio table. You could set it up as an equation or a proportion. Okay, and my favorite is the equation. So that's what I'm going to do. Well, equation modified. I'm going to show you that and I'm going to multiply it. So 30% of 70. Remember that 30% is 30 out of 100. Okay? And you are going to multiply that because of is multiply by 70. And remember, 70 is going to be over 1. Do some cross simplifying if you can. I can divide both 70 and 100 by 10. I'm just going to get rid of a 0 there. And then I do 30 times 7, which equals 210. And then 10 times 1, which is 10. Oh, I could have simplified more. And then I take away those zeros, and it equals 21. Now, because of is multiply, and because I'm really good at transferring percents to decimals, I know that 30% is 30 hundredths, right, which is just 0.3. So I'm going to multiply that by 70, because of means multiply. So that would just be 0, so I'm not going to write that. Hold its place, hold that place, and then 7 times 3 is 21. And then I have 2 places to the right of the decimal, so I move it over 2 places, and I get 21. Okay, so that's one way you can solve. You could set it up like this, or you could just multiply it using decimals. Either way is great. Let's do another one. This one is a little bit different because it asks you to find the whole. So it tells you that you have 65% of some number, right? That means we have a variable. We don't know what x is. And that's going to equal 39. This is when I think it's helpful to set it up as an equation, right? 65%, so you could write that as a fraction or as a decimal. I'm going to do it as a decimal. 0.65% of x, so multiplied by x, is going to give you 39. So to solve for x, to get x alone, I'm going to divide by 0.65 on both sides. So I've got 39 divided by 0.65. You cannot divide with that decimal there. So you move it over 2 places. Now, 65 will go into 390 how many times? Let's try by 4. Oh, I think it will go a couple more times. Maybe 6. There's 639. Exactly 6 times. That's beautiful. 6 times 65 is 390. So it's going to be 60. So 65% of 60 is 39. You also could have set this up as a proportion. So first you would write it as the ratio. Write it as the ratio out of 100. So it would be 65 out of 100. And that's going to be equal to 39 over x. So the whole is the one we don't know. We don't know what the big number is. And this is what number we have. This is the part of the whole, and 100 is the whole. So then all you do is you cross multiply and divide. So you would do 100 times 39, which is 3,900, just like we did over here, and then divide by 65. So it's the same thing as the equation, just set up a little bit. Cross multiply and divide. Okay? All right. So now we're moving on to the equation and expression portion of the test. So number 12 asks you to write the word sentence as an equation. So remember the steps are first circle the numbers. 168 divided by a number x is 14. Second, you underline the operation words divided and is, and then you write it. 168 divided by x is 14. And that's it. Okay. Number 13, tell whether the given value is a solution of the equation. So you're going to plug 24 right here. 24 divided by 6, is that 6? No, 24 divided by 6 equals 4, right? So this is no. All right, number 14 is solve the equation. So remember when we solve equations, that's asking us to do the railroad tracks and solve and make n be alone or isolated. And to get n alone, we have to do the opposite. So this is a positive 1/3. What's the opposite? Minus 1/3. So that positive 1/3 minus 1/3 zeroes out. Now n is alone, and 2/3 minus 1/3 is 1/3. You just keep the denominator the same and subtract the numerators. 2 minus 1 is 1. Okay, another solve the equation. So we're doing railroad tracks again. Circle the variable and anything attached. This 4 is attached, but it's in with this fraction. And remember, fraction is division. So to get rid of this dividing 4, I need to multiply by 4. And I do that on both sides of the railroad tracks. And then when you have 4 over 4, that equals 1. That's why we cancel out this 1 right here. And then 4 times 4 equals 16. And so I get t equals 16, and I should always check my answer. 16 divided by 4 equals 4. So I know I did it right. T equals 16. All right, number 16 says, tell which ordered pair is a solution of the equation. So I'm going to plug in both of these and see which one works. So remember, the first number is x and the second number is y. So for this first one, I've got 3 times 9, which is 27, and 27 minus 7, which equals 20, which is what I have for my y. So I know that that one works. Let's check this one. Make sure it doesn't also work. So on this one, I would plug 5 in where x is, right there. So 3 times 5 is 15, and 15 minus 7 equals 8. And it should have equaled 0 if that ordered pair was a solution. So that one does not work. And your correct answer is A. Okay, so remember, the first number is x, the second number is y. Plug them in and see if it's true. Number 17 says use the distributive property to simplify the expression. There were 2 different ways we did this in class. The first way is using the boxes. You write the 7 on the side and you write 2y plus 8 on top. You share the 7 with both boxes, and then you bring down the 2y and the 8, and then you multiply. So 7 times 2y is 14y. Keep the plus sign that was there, and then 7 times 8 is 56. So you could do it that way. The second way we talked about in class is just arches. 7 times 2y is 14y. Keep the plus sign, and 7 times 8 is 56. The important thing to remember on this one is that after you multiply the first one, you also got to multiply the second one. I have a lot of people that would write 14y plus 8 on this problem. They would remember this one, but they would forget to multiply the 7 by the 8. Please don't forget to do that. Okay, number 18 is GEMDAS. So you got to follow those order of operations. Over here. Okay, so first up I have my grouping symbol. 12 divided by 6 is 2. So I'm going to rewrite this with the 2 right there. Okay, next up I have my exponent. 2 to the third power, which means 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 2 is 8. So you have 8 minus 2 plus 8. No multiplication or division. My addition and subtraction is 8 minus 2, which is 6, and 6 plus 8, which equals 14. All right. Number 19 is simplify the expression by combining like terms. So I am going to do a t-chart. What do I have here? I see numbers and I see x's. So for my x's, I have 5x, and then I have this minus x. Make sure you have that subtraction or negative sign, same thing right there. And then on my numbers, I have 16, I have minus 8, and I have 2. Notice that I included the minus 8 with that as well. So now I just put them together. 5 minus 1x, remember you have a 1 right there. So 5 minus 1x is 4x. Then I have 16 minus 8, which is 8, and then 8 plus 2, which is 10. So this is 4x plus 10. Now, you might wonder, Ms. T, how do you know that that's a positive sign? And it's because I have two positive numbers, 16 and 2, which give me 18, and I only have one negative number, this minus 8. And so I just go ahead and take away from my 18 that are positive, and I'm left still with positive 10. Okay, I have way more positive numbers than I do negative, so it's going to be a plus sign in my answer. Okay, now we're on to the last one, number 20, which is finding the quotient, which is division. Quotient is the answer to a division problem. So I cannot divide with a decimal out here in my dividend, so I move it over 1, move it over 1, and move it up. Okay, then I'm going to go, how many times will 14 go into 78? Let's see, 14 is really close to 15. And 15 would go in there about 5 times. We're going to check that. Yes, so going 5 times. 5 times 14 is 70. Subtract 78 minus 70, and I get 8. Bring down the 6. Okay, so I can go in at least, I'm going one more time, right? Because that will be 84, so this is going to be 6. 6 times 14 is 84. Subtract and I get 2. Bring down that 8. And 28 divided by 14 is 2 exactly. So my answer is 5.62. There you go. All right, remember, if any of this is not making sense to you, please come get help. I would be happy to help you with any of this before school, during lunch, after school. Let me know.